Good morning, LBC Radio. My name is Corey Rosen, and you are listening to the Story Podcast. Today, I have on a super awesome guest, Mr. Rod Goelz.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
Rod Goelz is a local musician who has gone international with his teaching methods. The Associated Press has called Rod a six-string surgeon.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, he has been mentoring musicians and making great music for over 30 years. A native of York, PA, Rod attended Berklee College of Music and earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Music Industry Studies from Millersville University. Rod has taught guitar, bass, drums, mandolin, and ukulele to hundreds of musicians, and he is credited for his ability to creatively mix diverse areas of music, including hip hop, funk, rock, country, metal, bluegrass, jazz, pop, reggae, and just about any other style that his students can think of.
It is all good.
It is all good.
We can learn from all of it.
Known for his involvement with such diverse bands as Paradise Movement, Killmaine Saints, the American Hollar, Rod is also the founder of Groove Jones, the Rod Goelz Project, and Boompop
Boompop Coalition.
Rod makes learning fun and exciting by tailoring his lessons to his students' interests and goals. There is no kumbaya in Rod's studio. He meets his students right where they are and journeys with them to nurture their unique voice. Rod brings his trademark sense of humor and ability to teach on the fly into the session, making his online and in-person sessions and lessons feel more like a jam session than a rigid music class. Rod leverages his years of performance and teaching experience to build solid, confident, lifelong musicians, and in addition to his many instrument contributions, Rod is also the author of Basses Loaded and Make It Funky, instrumental series published by Santarella Publications. His latest instructional book, Quick Start Guitar, is one of the foundational lesson books offered with his lessons at the Weary Arts Group from York, PA, and Rockmill Studios in Mechanicsburg, PA. Rod's universe contains no musical taboos. All styles offer something unique and valuable to every musician. He believes that the very best way to learn an instrument is to play with others from the first day. Application brings understanding and motivation through an approach he developed called Boompop.
Boompop. Yep. Boompop.
How you doing today, Rod?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Of course,
what
man.
you're doing here is wonderful.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, you have over 30 years under your belt.
Yeah, it's a 34 years this May. It'll be 34 years. Yeah.
So where does this love for music and education all start for you?
I started in 1989. My love for music was from my earliest memories were musical memories. Like
really?
Singing to Beatle and Beach Boy albums and all that kind of stuff. And I did little 45s. I had a box of 45s and I sang along with all that. My love for music goes that far back. But when I went to Berklee and I was planning on being a rock star. And then once I got out of Berklee, after 2 years, I left and I'm going to get a job. I want to get a job. And in the meantime, I'm going to teach before I become a rock star. And then that'll carry me over until I become a rock star. Well, as it turns out, I really love teaching. Like the first month I knew it. It was really cool. It was like it applied all the things that it allowed me to chase my curiosities, both like musical curiosities, but also people curiosities. And it gave me kind of like a purpose, which is kind of like what you want out of being a rock star. So you don't necessarily, it spared me from having to go through all that other stuff.
Right.
Yeah, because but it's like, so very, very, very quickly, I had good mentors. I should say that because one of my mentors, Scott Anderson, who's passed this year, he passed away, but he showed me a lot of what I do stemmed from my lessons with him in high school. And it's like, not everybody had that opportunity. So I'm just taking the lessons I learned from Scott and then applying it in my own way. But he was a classical guy. But he recognized that your music is your music, and it's not going to be. It should not be watered down, and your personality should not be watered down. So, anyway, that's a long-winded question or long-winded answer, I should say. But
So that what then? You do your teaching, you decide, oh, I love this.
yeah, what? So, like within the year, I started writing kind of like books, and kind of like putting materials together in some sort of fashion that was, and others recognize that I have a knack for this. That in other words, other teachers that I was teaching with, we would talk, and they respected what I was doing because they weren't doing it because it wasn't natural to them. They were great players, but teaching's a different thing.
It is. Yes.
It is a very different thing. It's not just because you're like a great player does not necessarily mean you're going to be a great teacher. And it's like, so just getting organized, the way that I got organized, which I learned from Scott, within the years, a couple years later, I started like putting on workshops as band classes, songwriting class. I did a Seattle conference in York, like the months after Kurt Cobain passed. These are some of my earliest things, and people learned to write songs. They showed up, not know mostly. Maybe they could come up with a few things, but I organized it in a way that put all the stuff together. So I brought the poets in, I brought the poetry side in, I brought the musical side in, and then a lot of these people that from that very workshop, as I said, so probably 30 people showed up. There are people that are still writing songs and still performing to this day, which is really that's purpose for me.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, because you want purpose.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want to be. You want to be able to go to the mall and not be picked out. Like that's like that's a prison sentence. But you want purpose in life, so that gives my life purpose, and it's like and it allows me also to teach. The whole teaching thing allows me, as I said, to chase things that I'm curious about.
So what are you curious about?
Well, there's the musical stuff, and I'm always learning. I think this is kind of funny because as a musician, this is like, it's like 44 years ago, I got a guitar for Christmas, right? But I'm still learning, and it's like it's a cool thing, and I would wish that for anybody. That is something I would wish for anybody. It's something to put your positive energy to. So also how that works with people and what they're going through in life, like the holistic idea of what a music education can do for a person that goes beyond playing scales and playing guitar riffs or a solid drum groove or whatever it is. There's a holistic thing that is that absolutely it's absolutely a blessing.
That's awesome.
To have a skill like you don't have to be great at it to benefit from it. Right. That's the other thing about music. You do not have to be great to benefit from it.
So what are you working on now with your learning? What is
well, the biggest thing I'm working on now is putting together a program that's going to go nationwide. So I have a Guitar Made Easy for the rock generation. It's a 4-week class. That is the biggest thing. That is what I'm putting my efforts in on. So what that's all about is I've been marketing my stuff, and it's like the only people that are like really responding to my marketing are people my age. So in other words, there is a generation gap again. Like there's many people your age. You're 23 years old.
Yep.
Okay, who don't know who Paul McCartney is, nor care.
Oh, please.
I know,
Tell me that.
but they don't care, and their journey is different. I'm not here to judge them. I'm just saying.
I am.
Yeah, good. That, and I appreciate that. You can do that, but it's like they don't know who Paul McCartney is. They don't know the magic of Jimi Hendrix. They don't care. They have their own thing. Okay,
who are their own things? Who would that be?
I don't know.
That'd be a great question.
Well, like, yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. Okay, a lot of it is EDM.
That's true.
A
Yeah,
lot of,
that's
and
fair.
there's a lot of indie stuff, a lot of creative stuff as well. It's not to say that EDM isn't creative, but there is kind of a line in the sand that of things that are authentically me, and I like the sound of people playing together. That is something that me being an old guy, musicians in a room, that's not what EDM is.
No, it's not.
Okay, so my thing is musicians playing in a room, learning the skills to enable that to happen, the communication that happens uh, when musicians playing. That is therapy. Okay, there are so many messed up people in the world due to whatever reasons. A lot of it has to do with the social media, like always being on your phone and all these things. The one thing that can kind of like counter that is getting together, turning your phone off, and
Doing something.
eye to eye, jamming, and writing a song and recording a song and having some sort of positive outlet that you can put all your energies towards. That is where my thing is. That is not necessarily a thing that the average 23-year-old, and that's I'm generalizing because
Yeah.
I am generalizing because I have students that are 16 years old and are completely into it.
Right.
Okay. But as I said, the advertising says that your people are your age and above, which is weird to me. I wouldn't think that the learning how to play with one another would be an age thing,
Really.
but it's
Yeah.
like also you have the whole video games, like the rock stars of yesterday are now the video game people. Okay, so they
Right.
have lots of things that kids now have lots of things to take their attention away from music, which is fine because 1960 was this 1960s people were different than me. You know what I
Right.
mean? They probably saying the same thing about me, but it's like so there is a generation gap, which is fine. Again, but playing music together and learning how to play right away. You don't wait until you're perfect. I want to emphasize, and I do emphasize in my lessons, you don't have to be perfect in order to benefit from music. Okay. And you can learn as you go, and making mistakes is how you learn.
All
Don't
part of
be
the
afraid
process.
of,
Yeah.
don't try to not make mistakes because that's how we're going to learn.
So that's how the worst mistakes happen,
Yes.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So you've been working with people all over the age spectrum.
yes.
What's it like to work with older people versus younger people? How do you adapt your style? You mentioned in the bio that you deal with all sorts of genres and everything as well. How do you switch between them and decide what's useful?
So my thing is creating music away from a music stand. Okay. So the people that I do this with, I've done this with, I've gone, I developed a nursery school class with Cal Weary and the Weary Arts Group. We did a thing called We Rockers. Okay. No music stand anywhere. We're learning to play rhythm centered. My music is also, when we talk about boom pop, it is a rhythm centered approach. When I say rhythm centered, that doesn't mean we're reading music. It means we're
Feeling.
learning to feel music.
Yeah.
We're learning to create within music. Okay. So that is one aspect of it. You have the teenage people who want to learn to play together. That message resonates with them as well. I also have special needs communities in the music and wellness program that I teach music and wellness for special needs communities. It is the same curriculum. We experience new things. We try out new instruments. We learn to sing. We warm up our voices. We move. Movement, music is movement. Rhythm is movement. I make it fun. It's easy to make it fun if you don't have any barriers. Like nobody tells me what to do,
Right.
so I don't have to do. No state tells me this is what you must teach. So I'm indie in that way, I guess. Okay, but that works of all ages. Okay, some of the people that like the caregivers of these music and wellness classes have said I wish I had a class for this for me.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And you
right.
can. And the adults class, it's rhythm centered. We learn improvisation, we learn songwriting, we learn arranging, we learn some of the classic stuff that we can elaborate on. I'm not big on like, let's learn Aqualung. Let's learn how to play Stairway to Heaven.
Right.
Okay. I'm more on shorter things that we can elaborate on. It's kind of a jazz-ish kind of approach, where we'll take something it could be the chords to Gloria.
You learn the 2-5-1 and
Yeah.
apply it to everywhere else.
Yeah. Or it could be like 1 flat 7-4, like that's the Gloria changes and the key of E. And then how do we change this up? How do we alter it up? How do we solo over top of it? How do we sing vocal harmonies over top of it?
Right.
Okay. How do we do
stuff?
Yes. So it's not as much of the, like, we're not going to be doing any Dream Theater tributes. That is somebody else's, and I'm not. Yeah, if that's your thing,
that's the thing.
That's good.
There's a place for it.
Yes, exactly. But it's like, I'm drawing from funk, I'm drawing from jazz, I'm drawing from rock and roll. Jazz mostly from the standpoint of how we think. Like, the way I approach music is not from everything has to be read.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a jazz musician would talk about chord changes. How do we make these chord changes work?
Right.
Jazz musicians talk about comping, the idea of accompanying.
Yeah.
And rhythm tracks, and how to be a great accompanist. They would talk about how do I solo over top of this sensitively, and how do I solo over this? How do I just cut the rope and just not be sensitive?
Right. Right.
How do I want to have those are musical choices. Those are freedom. That's a
Yes.
jazz. So I'm not necessarily teaching jazz, but all the things that I learned from Berklee, they found their way into that, because it's absolutely applicable to every music, not just jazz.
Well, so to someone who says, "Oh, I only want to be a rock musician," or "Oh, I only want to be a jazz musician," how do you break that? Because like you said,
To be a rock musician means you have freedom.
That's fair.
Okay, to be a rock musician, it doesn't mean you're stuck to the tablature. Okay, being stuck to a tablature, or stuck to. Now you got to learn some riffs. You got to learn the riffs. That's one part of it.
Right.
That's the classical end of things. You got to learn the riffs, but the bigger picture is what once I have the riffs, can I elaborate on it? The best rock musicians they do improvise. A lot of it comes from the blues. Blues is a part of my program. Blues is an essential, kind of like tributary to my approach, as is R&B and funk. But yeah, to be a rock musician means you're exposed to other things. It doesn't mean my definition of rock. Now, some people will just want to play like heavy metal in the style of like computerized drums and power chords, and that's very, very, very specific. I might not be the right guy for you. I don't dislike heavy metal. I have as metal as anybody.
Right.
Okay, but if it's not possible to play, it's not possible to play. In other words, the drummers, they're doing, what was the Through Fire and Flames, the thing on Guitar Hero.
Something that was like really just impossible.
Yeah. That is not what I'm aiming for. And it's like,
Right.
the bigger picture. I'm not going to learn a 72 bar solo from Fire and Flames. I'm not going to spend 6 months working on that. There's better uses of our time. Yeah. So rock musicians being exposed to other things, that's what Jimi Hendrix was. That's what Jimmy Page was. That's what, name a rock musician. Eddie Van Halen started out as a classical pianist.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's why he's doing this kind of stuff.
Oh,
that's piano technique.
Sense. Yeah.
That's piano technique. He already had the dexterity in there.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and he had all the melodies from the time he was 5 years old. He also had the ear. That's something that a lot of times we don't think a lot about, is ear training.
Yes. Ear training is important.
Yeah.
What is ear training for those who don't know?
Well, ear training is like, it's a very big study, but it's like in a nutshell, for the rock musician, we'll narrow it down to the rock musician. Part of it means we're playing by ear. Part of it is we're making sense out of the music just by what our ear hears, not what our ears or eyes see on a piece of sheet music. So through ear training, I can tell you what the chord changes are. I can tell you what the key is of the song. Sometimes.
You're really good. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. I don't have perfect pitch.
I don't either.
Okay. And I don't necessarily need it.
No.
Relative pitch is what we work with.
Yes.
Okay. So relative pitch means in the conjunction of this is my 1 flat 7/4. I know what that progression sounds like. I don't necessarily know what the key center is. If it is a common sound on an instrument like the guitar or a bass, or if it is a common key, then I'm able to pick it out right away.
Right.
And
common keys being like A, E, D.
Yes, around the open strings of a guitar. So it's amazing that rock is written and composed. Your compositional major,
yes,
or were your graduate. They're written around the open strings of a guitar. The keys of rock and roll, lots of E's, lots of A's, lots of D's, because the riffs are based off of the open string of a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So those keys I can kind of hear in students. And can we tell major sounds versus minor sounds? Right? Okay, this is all ear training. This is all, you can make sense out of music without seeing a note of it. Okay, all music. And it's like, it's funny because some people, depending on how they're taught and what they're exposed to, they don't even know about this stuff.
Right.
Their relationship with music, and it's not wrong, their relationship with music is recreating what is on the printed page, but so they don't have the same relationship. And I do read, by the way. I'm not illiterate. I read from day one. So, but the big lessons that I have learned in my musical life have been through the ear.
So say, and with that, you can't read. I mean, I guess you could read like the fingers on like guitars, but it's much more easier if you just hear it and you got it.
Yeah. Well, there's Suzuki method. It teaches 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and 4-year-olds how to play really amazing, filled with nuanced classical violin. The first step to learning anything for legit is to listen to people who have done it. Suzuki, this is a guy, master educator, most entirely in the classical realm, but it doesn't have to be. It's a concept. It's a concept. But he took pieces and he showed 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds how to do little bowing tricks. And you listen to the music that you're learning how to play, and then you imitate. And his success was ridiculous. Like, he was able to do with 4 and 5-year-olds what 25-year-olds can't do. If all you do is read music, it's like the idea of how do we put that music in our system and make it sound like music and not like I'm reading something.
Yeah. So I can go on and on about that. How early education is where you should learn a lot of things.
Yeah, and I was extremely. What I did for fun was extremely helpful. Like, I sang to Day Tripper. I sang to I Get Around by the Beach Boys. I sang to 45s when I was a kid. Not because anyone told me to.
Because you liked it.
But it was what I did for fun. Like, whenever it was probably raining, because I did play outside like any kid. But it's like, I would have this little 45, and I would be playing it and singing along with it. And at 4 and 5 years old, I was able. That is the age that you should be singing.
That's the age you should be doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
If you want to learn a language,
yes,
that's the years to do it. If you want to learn music,
it's a little rough for us older.
Yeah, it's a little rough for us older people. If anyone who was forced to take Spanish or another another language in high school knows how god awful it is and how much. I took 3 years of Spanish. Ask me how much I know about it.
Oh, yeah, you know the best way to learn Spanish? Go to Spain.
That's another great
and that's
point.
what I'm talking about in music.
Yeah.
The best way to learn how to play music is by playing with people. It's the same thing. It's like you can take all the classes, and the classes are great, but the really big epiphanies in Spanish is go to Spain.
So
and that's why they do that. They like a lot of the Spanish majors. A friend who's a Spanish major, and part of her, she graduated. She had to go to Spain in order to.
Very good. So you've worked with a lot of really crazy, cool musicians. You have the Killmaine Saints, and let's talk about before the end a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They were just at the
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Rock and Roll Hall
Cleveland,
of Fame.
Ohio.
Tell me about that.
So that was a band that we started like the months prior to COVID, and then it was my rock band program. It started out as a rock band, it grew into something way bigger than that, but it starts out the rock band program, and then we're getting together and we're learning things and we're putting together a set list. Then COVID happens. So then what happens is I learned how to Zoom. We have a Zoom. We had like probably 2 months of Zoom calls, like, and then eventually things started to ease up a little bit, and then we would have jams, like classes on my back porch, because they said that you can't get the COVID virus being outside.
Right.
So keeping it safe, my neighbors are still talking about like the jams that we had on my back porch.
Hopefully in a good light.
Yeah. Yeah. You've probably seen them. If you've seen any of the stuff on your ad, my neighbor commented on your
yeah.
So
Yes.
they're both neighbors are completely supportive.
Good.
Like on either side of me. I'm not sure about the rest of them, and I've taken it inside since. So I don't want to press that issue. But anyway, so we started out. Learning a few tunes, learning some things, and then writing songs, finding your voice. I gotta say, I want to take absolute. I want to be recognized as absolute. I didn't do it.
Right. Yeah.
In other words, I like to take total recognition of like when we started writing songs, the singers would powwow together, and they came up with the most amazing lyrics. And melodies. I didn't write any of melodies. I helped them early on. I helped them with the structure, the chord changes, but then they would sing melodies over top of it and write their stories. Their stories were not teenage stories. Their stories were like captivating. Their stories were like adult themed. Like when I say this, they're not thinking like a typical teenager. Yeah, it's kind of weird to see. So that's what before the end. They have since. They play anytime they can, and when I say that, that is how you learn. You go in at it, and it's like you find something you love, and you go with it with all you have. And they've this past weekend they competed at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They have a high school band competition. I've never been big on competitions, but I'm not going to stop them from doing it. Yeah, but the competition was wonderful. It allowed them to hone their years of work into a 15-minute set. Okay, you go to Cleveland, Ohio, play at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 15-minute set, and they killed it. Okay, they killed it. They did. It's online, and as I said, I can't take responsibility for that. They get performance. They have it in them. Some of them have been performers before they were musicians. Okay, so, and Cal Weary is a part of the Weary Arts Group. He has a lot to say about. He's the mentor when it comes to performance. Okay, because that's his background. The background of performing arts, and he's a director. He's an actor. He does a lot of that. So that's what they're doing, and they're doing wonderful things. They're learning as they go. It's like not everything is perfect.
Right.
Not everything has to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's better to not be perfect and to learn than to you know what I mean.
Exactly what you mean.
But They're growing. They're doing great things. They're recording. They're trying to learn recording now. And it's like like anything, it's a thing.
The process, yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It doesn't come right away, and but it doesn't matter. They're doing the right stuff, and they're not stopping.
That's great.
Yeah.
You have created your own teaching style.
Yes.
Boompop.
I call it Boompop because it used to be kind of like, well, a lot of my stuff I think it's rhythm centered, and a lot of it is kind of like jazz ideas, but I can't necessarily speak to these jazz ideas to normal jazz musicians because jazz musicians, they have very real idea. They have ideas that jazz should only be jazz.
They're very elitist.
Yeah. So, and it's like to them, jazz is a particular sound that has to be a certain way, and I appreciate that. I said there's 37 varieties or whatever of Baskin Robbins ice cream.
Right.
They could be the UBU. But it's me taking some of like African-based ideas, like rhythm is the center of everything. Okay. Without rhythm, you can attach everything to rhythm. Improvisation is not optional. It is an essential skill. It is a survival skill.
Yes.
We learn from all styles of music. All styles of music have something to offer. Okay. You were asking about how do you teach rock and roll kids how to appreciate other styles of music. Well, to teach them, if you don't know the blues, you're not going to be able to improvise. Okay. Improvisation is absolutely, as I said, in my program, in my method, it is not, oh, maybe I'll do this. No, we're going to learn how to do it. It's not, and in school, that's not the case. They're not getting that at school. Okay. So they'll have jazz band at school and they'll be given charts and they never improvise, even though it's called jazz. So jazz, to me, jazz is an improvised art form.
It is, yes.
And I have deep connections with all the greats. I appreciate all them, but we also have to forge our own lane.
Yes.
And we also, the other thing is, my thing, a lot of musicians are this way that well, that's what I was when I was a kid. And it's like, this is what I listened to but I've grown up now. And they put some sort of shame on, well, so you like the Beatles, so you like James Brown when you were a kid, or Radiohead, or whoever it is, right?
Right.
We have to put some shame to it because that's what I was back then. No, it's part of who you are. And don't deny it. And it's like there's nothing wrong with that.
And if they're great, they're great.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Whoever inspires you, be glad that you're one of the people that have been inspired.
Yeah.
Okay, because not everybody, and I'm finding this out because most of the people that I surround myself with are inspired because of what I do, though.
Right.
Okay, but not everybody even thinks in those terms. They don't live in that kind of life. And if I can help in that, to have something that inspires you and to think in those terms, then I've done my job. Whether you're perfect on your instrument or not, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's a great advice for teachers.
So Boompop,
yeah,
rhythm centered. It is everything I do. All those things make it into all my programs. The music and wellness, the rock band. That is what it is. I was going to bring you a book. I will mail it to you.
Oh,
I will mail it to you because I was going to bring it, and then I got halfway here, and it's like
Yeah.
So
you're also up for a CPMA.
Yes, this is wonderful. So I wasn't expecting it because I was told that they were only wanting college teachers. And it's like, well, I do what I do, and I've done it for a long time. And I hope, in being recognized, it makes my programs go over a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to, that's the benefits of being like recognized for something like that. Again, I'm not huge in competitions, but my programs, if the word gets out that this is what I'm doing, and there's people still don't understand about it or know about it, and you're a Facebook friend of mine, and I'm sure you understand. I don't know why, because you're always posting,
right?
Right. So, but getting the word out, this is what is happening, in central Pennsylvania, then it's worth it.
Yeah,
And-
I really enjoy what the CPMA or the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame is
Mhm.
doing, because they're really focused on recognition.
Yes, recognizing the famous people, but also recognizing the people that have just been doing it forever. And put their time in. So
there's a lot of that in Central PA.
Yeah, certainly. This got a ridiculous amounts of history.
It does.
And like some of the people that are being nominated are people I've seen and known of since I was a kid. Some of them.
Really?
Yeah. So.
That's awesome.
So. But next generation
is coming up.
Yeah. In other words, I appreciate the fact like this. When I was a kid, we didn't have this.
Right.
We didn't have somebody shining a light to something positive. You wanted to start a rock and roll band, you had to be an entrepreneur. And what 15-year-old is an entrepreneur?
Not many.
Yeah. So that's a different skill set. So with that said, that's part of the program too. It's like, you want to do this, you gotta think in those terms. But I'm going to support you in every way I can, which I guess you, as a teacher, you give what you didn't get. That's the other part of that. It's like this. What was missing in my life is I'm trying to, put there for other people. So every generation, it should be a little bit easier, and new challenges too. There's going to be new challenges, but nobody, like in the '60s, it was worse. It was harder probably than when I was growing up. So every generation, hopefully, is a little bit easier.
So outside of teaching, you do your own music. What inspires you as a musician as opposed to a teacher?
What inspires me is like all music. I'd say all music, creating stuff that is a mixture of stuff. Like for years, I was in a band. It was my band. It was Groove Jones. It's a funk band, and that was all about learning the language of my favorite sounds of funk, and putting a show around it. But it also, I'm not like I will combine rock and roll with it. I will combine any combination of styles, like with the boom pop concept. All my music is going to be a mixture of a lot of stuff. It's going to be, I don't denounce the fact that I was a 80s metal kid. I don't denounce the fact that I went to see Kool and the Gang last year. I don't, you know what I mean?
Right.
So my music is all of that. And then my future is I just want to play with people who inspire me and create with people who inspire me. Some of them are people I already play with. Some of them are not. I want to expand on that because moving on, a lot of the people that I once took inspiration from are not doing it anymore. Yeah. So writing music, recording music, but it's coming from lots of different
areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't dislike acoustic music. As a Killmaine Saint, I was their mandolin player. Okay. I made it to the West Coast. That's the funny thing. Is like I made it to the West Coast because of my mandolin skills. Yeah.
Who would have thought? Eh?
Yeah. So it's like, well, I don't know. I was able to adapt for that short time I was with them. The original, yeah, we parted ways, but it was a great experience for me.
So we have one of your songs, "Know My Name." You want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, that was it started out maybe 10 years ago that we had a Groove Jones gig, and one of our singer at the time was stuck in another state due to snow. So what I had to do in order to keep the gig happening, I invited all the singers I had, friends I had out, and we jammed. And then a video was made from the jam session, made it to YouTube, and the jam was kind of like, that is kind of it. Like the song was Cal Weary.
I see.
Okay, so we were kind of doing a P-Funk groove, and he sang his thing over top of it. And it's like Cal Weary is one of amazing artists that can freestyle thoughts, poetic thoughts. As I said, he is a performance background.
Right.
He is a literary. He has got a big on the literary thing. When I say that, I can't do what he does at all.
Right.
He can tell stories right off the cuff.
Well,
And in a musical way. Like it's hip hop, but he'll put melody to it too. He can do hip hop too.
It's cool.
But so he Know My Name was us group. The first time Cal and I ever made music together. It goes back to I was in Maywinds in New York, like 10 plus years ago. Was it 11 years ago, something like that. Snowy night. We still did the gig. Lots of people showed up. Cal Weary sang. We played together for the first time, and that was the song that we started with. Our musical relationship started with. And recently, I'm like, I want to record all these things to get some sort of documentation of something that happened that I thought was special.
Mm.
So that's Know My Name.
This is Know My Name.
Come on. Yeah. She don't know nothing about me now. Who that is now? Oh, you don't know my name. You don't know my disposition. You don't play my game now. You ain't in my pole position. People will always talk now, but they don't got much to say. People will always walk in, but they never walk my way, yeah. Oh, you see, everything is played out, and everyone gets played now. You don't know the answer, no, and you don't know my name. You see, I walk through the fire, and you ain't got no flame. The things that you desire, mama, are things that I can't change. I want you to feel me, oh, feel me all the way. I need you to scream me, come on and scream. You can scream my name now, come on. You can scream my name now, oh, come on, scream my name now. I know you don't know me, mama, oh, but you know my name. You know my name now. Do you know my name now? Do you know my name now? Do you know my name now? Oh, by the end of the night, it's gonna feel alright. Do you know my name?
That was Know My Name. You also have a music for adults.
Yes. So guitar made easy for the rock generation is going to be a 4-week class. Now, what that is all about, again, I was telling you, my people, like advertising and all the numbers are suggesting that my people are like the rock generation. They remember rock not as a historic thing. You know what I mean? It's like
tangible.
Yeah. In other words, that is what that And to me, that means playing together.
Yes.
To me, that getting in a room and playing together, writing songs, putting together a gig, learning that slash lick, learning that how to vibe like Jimi Hendrix, learning to do that. So there's a guitar class that begins the process of how do we taking all the lessons in boom pop, and it's like, how do we started using our ears, and what are we listening to, and what it's a music lesson, but it's also a guitar lesson. So it's like it's a new approach that aimed for the people, and it is not just my age. It's like anybody who wants to learn to play with others.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's guitar made easy for the rock generation. rockgenerationguitar.com. That is there's a website. So that is that. But it's like, I'm excited about it because it's like, you got to be who you are. You can't,
Right.
Again, that's probably a recurring theme in me. I can't just be a jazz musician. I'm not. Okay. And I can't just be a rock musician because I'm not. So, but it's like that era and that aesthetic it speaks to me the most. I don't fit in well with, if you want to learn how to do like the EDM stuff, I have a wonderful guy who knows all about that. He's actually James Klippel.
Oh, James
Klippel. He is wonderful.
Oh, James,
he's wonderful in so many ways.
Yeah,
he is wonderful in so many ways, but he's adaptable into. I don't know that. I know he's good with all the EDM kind of thing, but he's also great with everything. He's like better than everybody on every instrument he plays.
Oh, I know. Yeah, James needs to get on the show.
Yeah, we just did a thing a couple weeks ago, and it's like him as a guitar player. Yeah. In other words, I can't. He was wonderful to play guitar with because I'm listening to my speaker, and it's like, what? That is great. He's totally really good. I hire him as a keyboard player.
Right. Yeah.
I hired him as a bass player, but anyway, he's a producer too. But it's like that is his thing, and I'm absolutely supportive of his thing. But we learned how in the rock generation we learned how to play from the ground up.
Right.
We talk about chord progressions. We talk about riffs. Talk about basic things. We talk about what we don't need to practice.
Right.
We don't like. Did you ever play guitar?
Slightly.
Okay. When I was a kid, it was like we had to take the Mel Bay guitar method, and that was horrible. It was completely depleting. It was depleting. It's like it made you not want to play the guitar.
That's how I remember.
Yeah. So we do not, and all high schools do that. Like high schools, if you learn the guitar in school, if they gave you a method that teaches you to play from a book that was published in 1962, that's depleting. It's a different world.
Right.
Okay. So that is not what this is my answer to those kind of methods. So you're playing, you start the process and being a guitar player. Don't have to be perfect to get the benefit.
You also have a podcast.
Yes, we love guitar nerds. I love talking.
That's good.
And I love talking to people who inspire me. Okay. We love guitar nerds on Facebook. It is the site that is me, but also the podcast is I get to interview people who are music makers, who are guitar players. Some of them are guitar players. Most of them are guitar players, but every once in a while I'll interview people that are just associated with guitar players. One of the recent ones was Brian Tishy's my favorite rock drummer in the whole world. I was able to interview him from a guitar player's perspective.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Brian Tishy now plays with the Dead Daisies. He played with Billy Idol. Whitesnake. He did a tour with Ozzy. He did Zakk Wylde when Zakk Wylde Pride and Glory. He did Sass Jordan. I'm forgetting a lot of his stuff, but he played with amazing people that he doesn't even tell you his whole resume because
it's too much.
Yeah, and his whole resume is just ridiculous. But he's a really, really, really cool guitar player. That's his second instrument, but he's better than everyone myself included. So anyway, so getting to be able to talk about the guitar nerd stuff, getting their story, like what you're doing. I want to know their story. Where did music start with them? Okay, where is it? Where? How did you get to where we're at now, and where are you going in the future? That's the whole thing. So it's guitar life kind of stuff. So, I imagine if I was a hunter, I would be talking about crossbows or
Right.
that I don't. So this is this is my football. This is so
That's awesome. So, where can people find that?
on Facebook it is We Love Guitar Nerds homepage. Okay, we can probably there's this
We can put a link to that.
yeah. So it's We Love Guitar Nerds homepage. Also, I have the virtual academy on. I have my own Rod Goelz Virtual Academy on YouTube. So all the past interviews, lessons. Greg Platzer. I don't know if you know Greg. He's a master guitar doctor. He fixes guitars. He creates guitars. He does. He's wonderful. A lot of his stuff is on there. Everything I do podcast wise is stored on there. So learning as I go.
If you could get one guest, who would it be?
If I could get one guest, who would it be? That's a tricky. Let me see. Alive or dead?
Must be alive.
Yeah, he must be alive. I don't know. Let me think about that. Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Jimmy Page started in the skiffles. He started playing skiffle, learned as he went. Studio musician. Like a week ago, I learned that he's the guy who played the Gloria guitar hook. Dun, 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 dun. He's on the Who. He was a studio musician. He played in the Yardbirds, the New Yardbirds, Led Zeppelin.
Right.
Yeah, that's what probably where everybody knows. But he's a mixture of everything that he liked. Okay, he borrowed from acoustic influences, blues influences, Les Paul. The jazz, I don't know what Les Paul is even somebody's hard to define.
Right.
Yeah. So, but he borrowed from everybody. So he would be an absolutely fascinating interview. I'm sure of it. Because he had so many different
things.
Yeah.
That'd be
Just on a musical level. I don't care to hear the rock star stuff.
Really?
Yeah. The rock star stuff is like, yeah, that's already been told.
That's kind of fair.
Yeah.
Although it is fun to hear about.
Yeah. He's got war stories, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I know he does. Yes. I'm not big on the gossip stuff. That's why I think sometimes people will I don't need to hear about all the down years of whatever, because a lot of the people that I have interviewed, they have a history of they came up in the 70s, and a lot of them are recovering.
Mm-hmm.
So music's been a salvation for them. And so and all of the ones that I've interviewed have overcome. Okay, so they whatever that was in their life, it was a thing that they overcame, and they thankfully did, because they wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
they wouldn't. So but I'm not the gossipy. I'm not the gossipy interviewer. Tell me about all the
all the bad things.
Or I don't necessarily, I want to know some of the people that you work with, but not from the standpoint, not to be a star chaser. I want to know, what did you get from playing with this person? What did you learn from that? And in the case of Brian Tichy, he played with Zakk Wylde. Like he played with Joe Holmes. He played with Doug Aldrich. He plays with Steve Stevens. These were I won't say his guitar players. He was the drummer in their band. Okay, he played with parts of Queensryche. It was an Operation Mindcrime. He was on a recording of it. Yeah, so he played with Eddie Van Halen, like at a house party. That's the kind of pedigree. I was like, what was going on in your mind? What was going on in his mind? That's what I want to know. It's a guitar nerd. That's completely guitar nerdy stuff. I don't know if guitar nerds can relate, but it's like not everyone is a guitar nerd.
Well, that's just the kind of stuff I'd like
to
listen to, or I like to get out of people too. Because
if
you want
agreed,
yeah, if you want star stories, talk to an actual star.
Yeah.
But if you want, what's it like to work with the star? Or what did
Yeah.
you learn out of that whole experience?
Yeah.
What
was it like rehearsing, or what? Yeah, as a guitar player, because he was we use Brian Tichy as an example. He's a world-class drummer to my thinking.
Right.
Okay, we went to Berklee together. He was great then.
Oh wow.
He was like best sounding drums I ever heard. At 19 years old. Okay, but him as a guitar player, he also has a guitar eye and ear. So what did you're in a room vibing with all these guitar that is a unique.
Yeah.
You're in a unique situation. So that's a yes. So we love Guitar Nerds. Check us out there's Facebook. We love Guitar Nerds homepage, and as you said, you're going to put a link up.
Yep.
So I want to thank you, Corey, for this. This is what you're doing. I'm a fan. I'm appreciative of anybody that is helping to build scenes. Scene building is one of my things.
Yes.
It's like making it easier for other people to
do things.
Yes.
That's the goal here.
Yes.
Because I want to be able to put on festivals and concerts.
That is wonderful.
Of people that I've had on, all the smaller musicians. There is a need.
Yes.
For here specifically for the community club is gone nowadays, and other places are going away.
I gotta think that's gonna come back.
I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna shout out to Rich Ruoff and all the great things he's done.
I interviewed Rich Ruoff on.
Oh, I've had him on here too.
Yeah. Rich is wonderful,
and that's a legacy that's going away, and I want to pick that up and do some stuff with it.
Yeah, because that's absolutely he's one of the people I'm talking about that I've known about him for 30 years. That what he has done for the community. He's a mover. He's like when I say that, he's a supportive force within the community. So we need more of those. And thank you for being that now.
Of course.
Yes.
So I have one last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you could give any piece of advice to any student ever, what would it be?
If I could give one piece of advice, if you want to be a musician, collect experiences, play with as many people as you can in different environments, and know you don't have to be perfect. Don't put yourself in the situation that you have to be perfect all the time. In other words, be the worst person in the room, worst player in the room, because you're learning from great players. They raise you up. Be coachable. If you want to be better, you might not want to be better. And I know this when I say that on your instrument, it's not a thing for everybody, because you can create music and have a great time with it, like with electronics and all that kind of stuff. So, but for those who want to play, collect experiences, find a mentor. I'm not necessarily saying you have to go to college. I don't necessarily think that's a thing that you have to do. Find a mentor and study with them, whoever that mentor is. Okay, find it. And this person should be trusted. But collect experiences, find a mentor, and play with as many people that are good. You don't have to be married to all of them in order to gain from it. Because actually, my thing is, if you have varied experiences, that teaches you adaptation. Okay, being stuck to one band and only one band, you're only able to do one thing.
And for to your point, the way to do that, go out to open mics, go out to jam sessions. There are jam sessions happening all over the place. I know the Blues Society of Central PA has their weekly jam session. Is it Wednesday nights in High Spire? Wednesday or Thursday nights in High Spire. Check out the Central PA Blues Association. They have jam sessions where
Blues Society. Yep.
Blues Society.
James Klippel is in Columbia.
I
know Liam Galliano.
Liam Galliano does his Iron Spire works.
Okay, he's at a couple places, but
he's at a couple.
He's a force.
He is a force.
Yes, because he is when I say that, he is like that Rich Ruoff vibe.
He is. He
you
really
too.
is.
You
Oh,
too.
yeah.
But it's like, you know what I mean? You're supportive of everybody.
Yes. And I know Kevin Gannon has his also in Columbia
Mm-hmm.
jams every month. I think it's Sunday or something like that.
Yes.
So there are places to go. There are people to find, and you have to go out there and do that thing if you want to be able to play with more musicians.
Yes. And be able to adapt. The way you learn how to adapt is by adapting.
Yes.
Okay. And I say this, I think it is probably lost if you show up to an open mic always and have people adapt to you.
Hmm.
In other words,
True.
play with them as well.
Yes.
Learn to play with them as well. Learn to make somebody else's music sound better or beautiful.
That's something.
That's a different thing. It's like I know there's lots of people, and whatever your relationship with music is, if you just want to show up with your acoustic guitar and play with musicians, that's wonderful too. But for the musician who wants a certain kind of musician, being able to adapt to somebody else's sound.
Or instrumentation too.
Yes.
I had to learn as a piano player. I had to learn how to play without a bass or how to play with a bass.
Yes.
Because I can't.
Or you have to learn how to play different styles.
Just rhythm.
You can't just be when you're at an open mic, you just can't be like, I know you might like old school Master of Puppets, and that might be your jam, but it's like if somebody's doing something that is completely not like that, then you can't impose your musical will on that. So it's wonderful lessons.
Wonderful lessons, man.
Wonderful lessons. And you meet people. And how many people do we both know that were it not for music, we would not know them?
Oh, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
How many people I wouldn't know.
That's a force.
Or who wouldn't know me?
Yes. That's a force.
Yeah.
That is a very real force. That's what I'm saying.
And there are people that will find you and will hear about you and will recommend you to other people that you won't even know.
Yes. That's the best kind of stuff.
So make sure you go out to open mics, jam sessions,
Blue Society.
I'm gonna compile a list of all these.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
Liam Galliano already has his list
Yeah.
of all the open mics. I'm gonna do my own and put that on the website.
James Kleppel in Columbia. Columbia Kettle Works, but he's got something else going on too.
Tellus every Monday nights.
Yep. Tellus is
a really good spot.
And
too.
that's a rotating host.
Yeah, it's a rotating host. I think it's quarterly now.
Okay.
Henry Dvorak, awesome bass player, has it now. I don't know who's got it next, but that it's a definitely happening scene over there. And I wish I had a better comprehensive list, but if you want to figure that out,
this is the start of that.
This is the start of that. Yes, make a good point. Send me all the open mics. I'll compile a list.
Yes,
I'll do it.
That is wonderful. Again, love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Yep. This is Rod Goelz. You find him at rodgoelz.com.
Yep.
And
on Facebook, We Love Guitar Nerds homepage. Lots of places.
And my name is
PA Music and Wellness too. That's my that's my music and wellness page.
My name is Coy Rosen. This is the Story Podcast. I hope you've all had a wonderful time listening. And if you want to check us out, you can do that at CoyRosenProductions.com. That's CORYROSEN Productions.com. You find out more about me and the show and all the guests I've had on before. If you want to find out who we have next, tomorrow we have Alex Danilla. He is an awesome, amazing musician from around here with a film degree. So I'm really excited to check him out. This Thursday we have Big Mama Music. They're a big jam band from around the area. They've performed all over the place, and I get to hear their story. And then this Saturday, a band I'm really excited to talk to is the Big Fat Meaties.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
James introduced me to them.
So good, so good.
Yeah.
Pop, progressive, horn music that I never thought I ever wanted or needed.
But you do.
Yep. Check them out. They're a force to be reckoned with. And then next Sunday, I have Cody Tyler.
All right.
So I'm really excited to talk to him. He's a country music artist and around in the area. A lot of things to do. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you guys later. Bye.